Hi everybody, this is Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and welcome to Last Week Tonight, where we answer your questions and we talk about your comments. It's all about you, the viewer, on this episode. So today is Monday, November 13th, and I thought I would go back to the comments and do a special episode where I try to go through your questions and get to the heart of what you're asking for and give you my knowledge so that I can help you, whether you just had an incident, maybe a family member had an incident where you were injured due to the negligence of someone else, maybe you already have a case, maybe you are interested in this topic and I'm passionate about it. That's what I do. I handle personal injury trials, civil justice trials. I handle all aspects of it. I prep clients, we prepare them for depositions, we take depositions, we do document discovery, we obtain evidence, we provide the evidence that we're supposed to provide, and we also do appeals and motions, and of course we handle trials. That's the best part, that's the fun part for me. I really love doing trials. Okay, so let's get into it. Here's the first question we got. It was only about 15 hours ago, and it's from a Dave Evans Jr., and he asks, hey, if you ask for $750,000 on your note of issue demand, what is the lowest you will settle for? Now, it's an interesting question. Now, it's important to note, you don't really ask for an amount on the note of issue. Usually in the note of issue, you're just certifying that all discovery is complete. You may put an amount on the note of issue. I have to look at the form again. I haven't looked at it in a while. It's just like a pre-printed form. Now, when you file a summons and verified complaint, you usually do not put an amount in New York. But in a note of issue, maybe there is a box for an amount, but that would be just the amount that's in the lawsuit. For example, it could be a high amount like 5 million or 10 million. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually asking for that amount. But I think what the person is asking is in a settlement negotiation, right? If your lawyer is requesting $750,000, how much are they going to settle for? And that really depends on the posture of your lawyer, right? And his or her bargaining strategy. So if they're asking for $750, it might be that they really want $750, right? If they're asking for $750, it could be that they're playing what's known as the rule of three, and they're asking for 3 times more than they're trying to get. So then maybe they're trying to get $250, but they don't want to ask for $250 because they know they'll never get $250 by asking for $250. So they ask for $750 and they figure, I'm going to try to get $250. It could be that they're trying to get half of that, right? Like 3 something or 400 roughly. So it's really hard to say, but there's one way that you could even end up getting more than $750, but by still requesting $750. And that is like my strategy, or the strategy that I mentioned before, where what you would do is you would say, look, in my opinion, here's all the evidence, here's what happened, here's my expert information, here's all the medical records, here's the injury information. And look, this is, let me know what else you need. If you need anything else to evaluate this case fairly, let me know. I'll provide it to you, right? I want to give you everything. But this is a serious case. And this case is worth $750,000. That's what it's worth. Pay that within 30 days. If you don't, then that $750 disappears. The train has left the station. There'll never be another opportunity to settle for $750 again. And now the minimum amount that we would accept is $1.5 million. So you have to guide yourself accordingly. Either we settle for $750 or a number close to that within these 30 days, or once the train has left the station, we're going to go to trial for $1.5 million. And that number may increase if we have to prepare, more for trial, if we have to do other things. Maybe by the time that I'm giving my opening statement, it's going to be $3 million, right? See, that gets the insurance companies upset because now they see that you're playing hardball, and then they cannot manage their risk, because what they really love to do is manage their risk, right? What they want you to do as a plaintiff's attorney is ask for $750. Then they're going to say, oh, $750 is so high. Why are you asking for so much money? You must be greedy. And then they're going to say, here's like $50,000. That's what it's really worth. Now come down, now you're at like 300. Okay, here's 75,000. Oh, now you're at 175. Okay, 90, that's my final offer. So now you have to settle it for 90, right? If you don't, well, you've already said that you're demanding 175. You can never go back up to the 750 again, right? That's gone. You see, that's how they want to limit their risk and put you in a corner and kind of beat you up, right? Whittle away at your numbers. But the way, if you look at it, if they really have, let's say, $1 million policy, well, even by demanding 750, I'm already giving them $250,000, right? I'm giving them a credit for $250,000. And why do that? Like on the last case I did in Westchester, the attorney before me had, I think, stipulated to $1 million. But the policy in that case was actually a $300,000 policy with a $1 million excess. So I was talking to my trial attorney, and I'm like, what are they doing? Why would they just give away $300,000? It doesn't make any sense, right? You could get 1.3. Why give away 300 and say that you're going to get $1 million? It makes no sense. So I always try to go for as much as possible, you know, of course, dependent on the injuries. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Here's a question from user GG. Good information. Okay, thank you. Here's a question. Try to skip through some of the ones that I don't think will be helpful for everyone. I'm going to try to get the good ones for you. Here's one from PG Azivoda. Send phone number, contact information. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Just text me anytime. And that is 347-566-9595. You could text me. I usually get back to everyone the same day, scheduling a bunch of consultation calls too. James Jordan says, Arkady, one of the best attorneys in the country. Wow, thank you. I'm humbled by that. That's really nice to say. Thank you so much. I'm glad that I'm able to help. My goal is helping serious injury victims and families, helping people. So I really enjoy what I do. Okay, and then Francis says, I went to trial, got a last-minute offer, declined it, lost my trial, appealed, and I paid out of pocket for the appeal, and I'm in the process with the appellate court, and today makes a year, and I still haven't heard any updates. Any good advice or recommendations? Well, you know, it's hard for me to say without knowing what the appeal is about or what happened, but it's tough. If you lose a case with a jury, it's hard to appeal. You really have to have a strong record of basically the judge making a mistake or charging something, like giving a jury question, giving a question to the jury to answer that shouldn't have been given, or giving a bad instruction on the law. So you need a good appellate lawyer to really review that record. But now, like, all your eggs are on that appeal. So it's tough. But if you win the appeal, then you'll probably get you'll get a new trial. And at that point, there could be new settlement offers or a new opportunity to win. So good luck to you. Okay, and then SMB says, I was wondering how you calculate future lost income for a moderate to severe concussion, since the doctor does not know himself how long the injuries would persist in time, 1 year, 10 years, ? How does the lawyer maximize the settlement amount? If the victim is approved for permanent disability payment, would it help or hurt the case? Well, yeah, let me answer the last question first. So yeah, permanent disability would definitely help. What you usually need is you need a doctor to tell you to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the injury is permanent and it's not likely to go away. Now, if it's a case of moderate to severe traumatic brain injury, such as a concussion, those usually medically, they don't really just go away on their own. So they usually are permanent. So if it's a permanent injury, then you would be entitled to future medical records for the rest of medical damages for the rest of your life, future lost wages, future medical costs. What you would need to do is for a doctor, an expert, to say, I'm a doctor duly licensed to practice medicine in whatever state, and it is my opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that these injuries are permanent, that the person is going to need physical therapy, surgery, medications, prescriptions, whatever it is, and here's the cost of that. And then you need an economist to also extrapolate and say these are the costs over their lifetime. So you could definitely do that. So good luck to you. Yeah, let me know what state you're in. Feel free to text me if you need a consultation. That's the 347-566-9595. Okay, thank you. And then Mike Jordan says, Arkady, where can one look up the attorney's cases? I appreciate you. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, usually the way you can do it is in New York, for example, we have actually 3 different systems. We have something known as E-Track. So you could look up, if you put in an attorney law firm, you could look up all their cases. I believe it's free. It's called E-Track. It's Web Civil Supreme. So it's like the internet, and it has the civil cases and the supreme cases. You could also sometimes look it up in the county clerk's office. You know, like in Brooklyn, for example, I believe, King's County Clerk, it has all the records of all the filings, the public filings. You could look it up on eLaw, e-law.com. There you may need some kind of a subscription, but I believe it's free. There's a free version. And you could also look it up on NYCEF, the New York State Civil Electronic Filing, NYSCEF. If you just put in NYSCEF, I think you could log in as a guest, and then you can just search it, and you can find stuff. Now, in other states, they have the same thing. I know in California they have it, in Florida they have it, usually with the county clerk's office. Like I believe there was a case I was looking at in Florida, and the client sent me some information from the Broward County clerk's office, and you could read some. Now, it's not going to be the whole file, right? It's not going to have like your private medical records in there. There's going to be some things like the complaint, the answer, but sometimes, you know, an experienced attorney, just by looking at that, they could see some things right away. Like when I look at that, I could see how long is it taking, what's happening, is it being like stymied, or are there roadblocks being put up by the defendants? You know, you could kind of tell some things just by looking at that. So it is helpful. Okay. And then JR says, are TBI case life care plans in the millions? And is that money for you and your expenses? How long does the case take? So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It can be, the life care plans can be definitely in the millions. If it's a serious traumatic brain injury, then it's going to take millions and millions of dollars to have the person live a pain, you know, as best as they can. They're never going to live a pain-free life, right, because they have the traumatic brain injury, but they're going to have all the different support systems that they need, like a neuropsychologist, a neurologist, treatment, there's traumatic brain injury programs. And of course, they're going to need certain supplies and equipment and prescriptions and therapies. And so the money is for expenses, but there's also, like we talked about before, there are economic damages, things you could put a price on, like expenses, medical costs, prescriptions, physical therapy, surgeries, whatever, you know, whatever the economics are. It could also be lost wages. If you were making money, let's say you're making $100,000 a year, now you can't work because you have a traumatic brain injury, you're getting that lost salary. But it could also be the non-economic damages, and those are more of the human damages, right? Like, what is it worth to lose your mind? That's like everything, right? Your ability to understand, your ability to perceive, your ability to interact with your loved ones, like your family, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors. So what is that worth? That's like your quality of life and putting a value on that. So you, in a trial, you get both. You get non-economic, which is the pain and suffering and the loss of enjoyment of life. And you also get the economic, which are the lost salary, the medical bills, the expenses, things like that. And he says he's asking because a family friend got in a car crash going on the freeway and there were no signs. And he crashed into a construction site and his head was pretty bad. And his case has been going on for a year. Is that normal to take so long? I mean, it could be. It could be, as long as the case is moving in the right direction, as long as, you know, he's getting updates from his attorney or his family's getting updates from that attorney and there's communication. That could be, it could be normal. But yeah, feel free to text me. I'm happy to do a consult. Because it's kind of hard to say, you know, from YouTube comments. Try to do the best I can, but it's hard to say because you need more information to really give you a good answer. So it's hard to say from a YouTube comment. And then Buster Jr. Williams says, keep up the good work, teacher. God bless. My case, low back, L4, L5, S1, pinch, nerves damage, garbage truck, ran a stop sign, 14 months. Do I have a good case? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good case. I'd have to look at, of course, at a little bit more detail where it is. But yeah, same thing. Feel free to text me, 347-566-9595. And then, the same person says he's done steroid injections and had MRIs, and it was a garbage trucker that ran a stop sign. good that people are, you know, are interested, and people are trying to find out what information is necessary, right, to move your case along to get a good result. And it's good to ask questions. I mean, it's important also that you have good communication with your lawyer, because remember, if you have a lawyer, that lawyer is going to be the best resource. That's like the fountain of information for you, right? Because they're handling your case. Like, I could give you what I think is happening, but I would have to almost, like, to some extent, I would have to guess a little bit, right? Because I don't have your file in front of me. Now, if you give me the information, I can go into the public database, I could look there, and then I could tell you if I see any red flags, you know. But I tell a lot of people, look, if you have a lawyer, that's good. Stay with your lawyer. Make sure you speak with your lawyer. Make sure that you know, keep bugging them if they're not responding. A lot of people say, well, I don't get to speak to my lawyer. I get to speak to, like, the case manager, but the case manager doesn't really know what he or she is doing. They're just more like secretaries or paralegals, or they know some things, but they're just, like, there to do basic tasks like schedule appointments or send out form letters. You know, they have a form letter like, we represent John Smith, we represent Jane Doe, and they just put in the name and then they just send a letter. You know, they don't really understand how a case works. They've never been in a courtroom. They're not lawyers. So those aren't really the best people to be speaking to clients, because a client really deserves the attention of an attorney. Now, an attorney is going to get busy because they're trying to do a lot of different jobs, right? There's the marketing job to get cases. There's the litigation job of moving cases along, depending on how the firm is set up. There's discovery, there's depositions, there's motions, there's hearings, there are trials. So it does get busy, but, you know, you have to make the time for it. You really have to make the time to speak to clients and to tell them what's going on with their case. So I try to do as best as I can, but we have other attorneys. In my firm, we have 8 attorneys, and we have about 23 people altogether. So we have a medium-sized team. And then when we work in other states, we work with some of the best attorneys in that particular state. So we have attorneys in Florida, attorneys in California, attorneys in Texas, attorneys in Oklahoma, you know, all over. And they're some of the best trial lawyers. We don't just, you know, send the case to anybody. We make sure that the lawyer is a real trial lawyer that gets multi-million-dollar results and is, like, head of the bar associations and organizations in their respective state. And then here's another question right up the alley. Here's a question from Nicola Marciano, and he says, is it a bad idea to change an attorney? Does it seem bad in the eyes of the courts? Yeah, so I mean, again, it really depends on, like, what stage the case is in. So the earlier the case is, like, if the case is only a few months old, I would say it's probably okay if you're not happy with your attorney. You can change. If the case is, like, almost at trial stage, it might not be a good idea, because at that point, the case is almost done. So any new attorney might not want to get involved, because, you know, the first attorney is probably going to get the lion's share of the legal fee, and any new attorney, you know, what's the point of them getting involved? And plus, it's hard for them to learn the whole file, right? Because one attorney's been handling the file for, like, say, 3 years, and then this attorney has to learn everything in, like, a week. It's very hard. So it just depends on the stage of the case. It also depends on if the first attorney, the original attorney, was doing a good job, if there was strong communication between you and that attorney, and if the case is being worked up or built the right way. But you can change attorneys. And the important thing to remember is that if you change attorneys, your legal fee, I mean, your client fee doesn't change, right? You can have one attorney. If the case settles for $1 million, you get $300,000. You give $300,000 to the attorney, and you get about $700,000. But if you have, like, 10 attorneys, let's say, I don't know, it's kind of like a crazy thing. You wouldn't have 10 attorneys, but let's say you have 10 attorneys. It's the same thing, right? You still get the $700,000, and now the $300,000 gets split 10 ways among the 10 attorneys. But because that's the client share, the $700,000, the 2/3, that's the client share. It doesn't change. And then the legal share is the legal or the lawyer's piece of the pie. Now, the lawyer's piece of the pie, if you have more than one lawyer, just has to be shared among 2 lawyers or 3 lawyers or whatever number of lawyers you have. So that doesn't change. But the courts, actually, they don't care. I mean, like, the courts don't really care if you have 1 lawyer or 2 lawyers. So there's no eye of the courts in terms of the courts, you know, it looks bad in front of the courts. The courts don't care. They don't ever really look at it. But the important thing, in my opinion, is whether the lawyer is willing to go to trial. Because if you're willing to go to trial, you also have to prepare for trial. It's a big endeavor. You have to do subpoenas. You have to get trial prep. You have to get, images, visuals. Last time we had a big case, we spent over $100,000 just, out of pocket. And we didn't know we could have lost the case. Actually, it was a tough case. It was like a slip and fall on ice. We could have lost $100,000. But we just we want to help the client. We want to do everything we can. So we lay it all out there. We spend $100,000. We did like a crazy amount of work. I was like at his friend's house for like 3-4 hours interviewing the friend about his childhood, about his life, and getting all the, basically like scrapbook, photo album, all the information. So we really try to do as much as we can. Okay. And then Exodus says, how much is a PRP injection worth for a partial meniscus tear? Because not information about that online. Yeah, so I would say if you have a meniscus tear, as long as the meniscus tear is traumatic, meaning it's from the crash or from the fall, it could be worth even $100,000 or more. A PRP, that's a plasma-rich platelet, I believe, PRP injection, that could be worth, a considerable amount. Now, if you have a tear, you probably need to get an arthroscopic surgery. So the failure to get an arthroscopic surgery could be a failure to mitigate or lessen your damages. So if you have a chance to lessen your damages, but you don't lessen your damages because you're afraid of surgery or whatever reason, now that could work against you and result in a lower settlement, right? Because the injury is there, but you could get rid of the injury with the procedure, with the surgery. But if you choose not to do the surgery, that's kind of on you. That's your fault in the eyes of the law. That's a failure to mitigate damages. But a PRP is usually, one of the procedures they do. I don't think that the PRP itself really has tremendous value because it's just an injection. But I would say like a PRP with a meniscus tear and no surgery could still be worth up to $100,000, maybe more. It's hard to say really because the ultimate question is, what is the impact on your life? What were you like before? Show me like the road you were on before. Show me a picture of your life before this happened, before you got hurt. And now show me how your life has changed, how your life has changed in terms of the quality of life, in terms of your friends, coworkers, family, and also in terms of medical treatment, in terms of future prognosis. Has your job changed? Has your daily activities changed, right? That's what it's all about, like a snapshot, a picture of your life and showing the two different roads. So it's hard to say. I don't think procedures always have value. I give kind of like some estimates, but I like to really do a deep dive, and it's really case specific. So it's not about a procedure having a value, but it's more about, the procedure can have a tremendous value, but it has to be backed up by evidence. Like there was a case, I believe, in the Bronx a few years ago where there was a bulging disc. That's all it was. It was a soft tissue bulging disc. And, a lot of lawyers would settle that case for like $5,000, maybe $10,000, maybe $15,000. But one lawyer took it to trial and the jury returned a verdict of $5 million. Now, probably it's not going to be sustained on appeal, but that just goes to show, right? It's not the procedure, the fact that they had a bulging disc or they went to a chiropractor and they had an adjustment. That's not worth $5 million. But the fact that the way it was presented, I guess I don't know about the details of that particular trial, but I'm just saying, you see, the same injury could have different values. One lawyer can take a torn meniscus, let's say, and settle it for $25,000. Another lawyer could take the same torn meniscus and work it up and get a verdict of over $500,000 on it. So it just depends on a lot of factors: the lawyer, the venue, the plaintiff. So it's like a moving piece. It's kind of like saying which art is better. Is it like Picasso or is it like Van Gogh? It's hard to say. It's just like not an exact science. This entire field is not an exact science. Okay. And then Cam says, I'm in the same boat, and he's responding to a video, construction accident, fall 20 feet, how much? And he says, I'm a 21-year-old laborer that fell 15 feet, and I'm in the process of a personal injury case. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a serious case. Yeah, we handle a lot of those construction cases. Those cases are really good because you get summary judgment on liability, meaning there's no question about fault. The fault is with the owner of the job site as well as the general contractor on the job site, as long as there's construction going on and the fall was because of the lack of proper safety protection, such as properly placed ladders, scaffolds. So the only question becomes, what are the damages? Now, if you're a worker, you're working, you're getting salary, a pretty high salary. You're getting union benefits, you're getting fringe benefits, you're probably a member of a union, you're getting overtime pay. And then if you cannot work anymore, you also have the value of household services. So there's a lot of different economic damages that you can get. And those economic damages in a labor law case can be, $5 million. Just the economic damage could be more than that. And then you also have the non-economics. And it tends to be that in labor law cases like that, construction accidents, they're known as labor law in New York, they are just worth more because of the economic damages, as well as, so it's the lost wages, the medical expenses, all the different costs and expenses. But in addition to that, you have the pain and suffering. You have the quality of life damages, the human damages. So then when you add those two together, it could be huge. So you're seeing verdicts for even, I think there was a verdict last year for like close to 50 million. So they can be very, very big cases. Okay, we're almost at the half-hour mark. So let's maybe do one or two more questions, and then we'll call it a day for today. But we'll do a few more of these. Here's a question, or here's a comment. You know your stuff for sure. Did you also go to like medical school or something? You probably learned so much about the human body being a trial attorney. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I just try to learn as much as possible. I feel like I keep learning more every day. Like I did the trial in July, and I learned a lot about fusions. I was watching all these videos, medical videos about fusions from a doctor where he's teaching other doctors, like medical conferences. But then when I did the second trial, it was also like a one-level fusion. I learned even more because I was going more into like the neurology and the way that the spinal cord works and the spinal pain pathways and the way that when the nerves are impinged upon, then they send signals and it goes all the way to the fingers and back to the spinal cord, and how everything gets disrupted. So that was very interesting. So I feel like you're always learning more, and it's fun. It's interesting stuff. And let's see. What other questions do we have? Oh, here's a question from Melquan. He or she says, if you were my lawyer, I would be so happy. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's really kind to say. Yeah, I mean, I try to do the best I can for everybody, and we have a team, like I said, so the team works together and they do a good job. So absolutely. And then Truth Seeker says, love your content. I have a question for you. Yeah, absolutely. Just feel free to reach out, 347-566-9595. I'm happy to help. And okay, thank you so much. So let us know what questions you have. Let us know what topics you want to see for future videos. Please like and subscribe to our channel. And we're going to do more lives, more recorded episodes like this where we answer your questions. Keep the questions coming in the comments. And we are here for you. Have a great day, everyone. Okay, bye-bye.